Hello! There are many ways to add depth to a build, so today I'm going to show you a few examples on how I like to do this. Why depth at all? Well, it makes a build way more interesting and less flat. There's a reason this is in every how to build better video. So let's hop over here to first have a look at what is available for us. Obviously you know this, we have full blocks, stairs, slabs, fences, walls, trapdoors and signs. All of these can be used to add depth, sometimes more, sometimes less. Well, what exactly is depth? After thinking about it for a while, I would say it is how things are shaped on different layers. Take this wall for example. It is one layer and thus flat. When we add a bit here, we go forward 2 layers and add a bit of depth. But when we add details like a window, we can also add depth with the window sill or some shutters. Texture is also how things are shaped, at least somewhat. But texture is not moving to different layers. Mixing both is in my opinion the best and overdo nothing. But let's have a closer look. With full blocks you can create horizontal and vertical pillars or add a whole other wall or overhang, and with a different color than the wall they stand out even more. And the same way stairs and slabs work, although more horizontal. They are great to separate the wall between 2 stories. Walls and fences are great for small pillars or other details. Signs and trapdoors are rather flat, but they do something. The more a block goes outward, the more depth it is creating. Building on different layers creates also a lot of depth, if not the most. It might be a bit tricky to find ways to add depth, but there are a few details I want to show you, and with time you will memorize more so that building gets easier. Around here I have prepared a few examples, so let's go through them. The one thing that you might have heard often before is to make the outline of a house more messy, with adding bits and blobs there and here. While this is absolutely true, as you can see when you build up the walls a bit, this doesn't mean you have to do this. A simple square house can be interesting to look at and still have a lot of depth, just not with extra rooms. Plus when you want to recreate a more realistic style it might even be necessary. Still, you can add 1 or 2 bits that go out. With this, when you look from one side you always see other sides behind, which obviously creates a lot of depth. But let's not just look in this direction. Buildings pretty much are boxes stacked on boxes, so don't forget they also go upward. Adding little squares that resemble a balcony or a bigger second story than the first one also creates depth. The composition of this is another topic though. A second thing you most likely already do is to extend the roof by 1 block so that it is overhanging a bit. For bigger houses I recommend even extending by 2 or 3, and to be honest, this is all I have to say about this. But of course combine this with the other stuff. Another thing called overhang is something we can find in medieval houses where the second floor is a bit bigger than the first floor. Feel free to use this in whatever build though, and it is a great way to add depth to a simple square house. You could also just use this just in the gable like here. This is a simple stone wall. Nothing wrong with it, but to make it look worn down you can use either texture or depth. To make it look really good though you need both. But let's start with the depth. This is supposed to be a very old and weathered wall, so a corner over here fell down. Then also it can have a lot of cracks and holes. You can do this by using stairs and slabs, and don't overthink this. This is also useful to shape boulders and rocks better, or to make cracks in paths. Pretty much on everything that is supposed to be stone. To add something in front you can use walls, they aren't as thick as full blocks. This is looking a bit chaotic, and with texture we can give some more sense to it. When we now look from the side, we can see that it's now on different layers. The easiest way to fill in empty spots is definitely by adding some greenery. Take some leaf blocks and place them wherever you want. Walls, houses, gardens, all no problem. Try to leave air blocks in your greenery so that it isn't looking too dense, it is supposed to be loose and airy. Other than that you can place a few blocks diagonally like so, this is making it look less flat. And when we take another look from the side, we see that the wall now has even more depth. This is a simple house wall with a gable roof. I want to show you a few ways how details can add depth, But don't take this too seriously as a whole, as it will be pretty much thrown together at this spot. First of all, let's do a small overhang in the gable part, similar as over there but just in the top. Just extend it by 1. Then this whole thing looks like a 2-story building, so let's separate the 2 stories with a line of stairs. Then you can also add pillars at the side, but you don't have to. When you have a whole house and not just one example wall, place a pillar next to the corner so that it's not really touching the walls. Then a small balcony looks good in most cases, and it doesn't have to be big. Make sure that the bottom looks supported, just add some stairs, or when it is small like this, some slabs. A railing will prevent you from falling down. Then what else to add? Windows. Windows fit everywhere. But of course you don't have to place them everywhere. Usually it looks best when parts of a house look rather empty so that the whole house doesn't look like it is over detailed. Until now we should have learned that details are in most cases adding depth. To be honest, until now I never thought about this. So this is obviously a castle tower. It is not very finished yet, or wait, that depends on your style. But right now it is rather flat despite being round. I would like to bring out the top part by 1 or 2 blocks so that it has more shape. Sometimes when you build in a certain style you have to do some research on how it looks and what the details are. In the castle wall tower these are definitely battlements, these things here on top. Now let's bring them out with the wall and it is already looking better. Although I have to apologize for the block choice, it makes it harder to see. Then it is just a matter of finding out how to connect all of it, and for that you can use full blocks, stairs, slabs and walls. It might take a moment to figure it out. Then in the end, let's add some texture just for the sake of it. Finish. Now for the last example, let me build up a rather simple house quickly so that we can have a closer look at it. For the outline I'm taking this one from the beginning, though I am changing it slightly. I wanted to make it blue, but then it would look too much like another certain build I don't want to copy, so it is orange. Also I lifted it up a bit and built it on stilts. So let's have a look. From above, you see the shape has many bits that go outward, but this one side here is a bit flatter than the rest. Doesn't look flat though. That comes from all the detail, and yes, the texture also helps. The stilts add a lot of depth, and that on every side. You always see some behind the ones in front. On top of that, these beams and staircases also help. Then we also see this little bit here with a small shed roof, one bigger blob at the side, and the entrance on the other side. More to these in a bit. Around the house goes a balcony on which are put chests and barrels. As I mentioned in one of the previous examples, I used a line of slabs to separate the 2 stories. Then when we take a look from the side, we can see very well how far each thing is going out. Like above the windows are trapdoors, from the front they look just like a brown line. In the second story is another small balcony, and I might or might not have added it there because I couldn't think of anything else. On the other side there is a lot more depth with all those bits, but I added less detail to it. I think that balances the 2 sides. And I even added a line of campfires up here and over there. Wherever is blank space are placed fences or walls, they have different color but also stick out. The details are pretty much the same, but when we have a look over here we can see a tent-like roof that gives shelter to a collection of chests. It fits with the theme and is adding another layer to the build. Under the stills are some more random chests and amphores. I mean, under there is a lot of more space. On top of the roof we have a chimney. It goes down to the first floor where it is extended by 1 block from the wall. Also here is a line of fences, adding more detail and depth. Other than that, there is a flag showing the direction of the wind. Keep in mind that when you build custom smoke, that the smoke goes in the same direction. I would have built some greenery on the roof or at the walls, but this house is more in the desert where it is too dry for that. And with that, I think I showed you all I wanted to show today. Keep in mind that these are just a few examples and that you don't have to add every detail of this. Combine a few and it's good. And when you don't like to, that's also okay. I hope you learned something new today, and until the next time, goodbye.